We've all heard the old saying, behind every great man there's a great woman. But what happens when that woman is also breathtakingly beautiful, immensely powerful, and decades younger? From secretive affairs to storybook weddings, these women didn't just become the wives of billionaires. They transformed into legends, each in their own way. Some chose to wield their influence quietly behind the scenes, while others dominated the headlines. Yet all of them share one thing in common: they completely changed the rules of the game. First up, Princess Amira Al Tawil. Picture this: you're crowned at the tender age of 18, not in some enchanting fairy tale, but in a world where the rules have been written by centuries of rigid tradition, and that tradition demands your absolute compliance. This was the world of Princess Amira Al Tawil, right up until the moment she decided to rewrite her own story completely. When she married the Saudi billionaire Prince Al Walid bin Talal, their union became a spectacle that captured the entire world's attention. A young, idealistic woman with a fresh perspective stepping into a grand palace that was overflowing with power, ancient pedigree, and crushing expectations. Their romance reportedly ignited after she conducted a compelling 2-hour interview with the prince for a school project. That single meeting evolved into a deep devotion, a formal engagement, and a marriage that was celebrated with all the fanfare of modern royalty. But Amira was never going to be satisfied with a crown she felt she hadn't earned herself. Hidden beneath the layers of silk and strict protocol was a fiercely intelligent woman passionate about women's rights, possessing a clear vision for global philanthropy and a powerful craving for her own independence. She looked at the opulent palace walls and didn't see a life of comfort. She saw a beautiful cage of constraints and made the bold choice to redefine her own destiny. So when their marriage came to an end in 2013, the world braced itself for a massive scandal. But what the world saw wasn't a broken-hearted princess, but rather a woman who had finally been liberated. Amira didn't retreat from the spotlight into obscurity. Instead, she walked directly into a life of advocacy, becoming a champion for women's empowerment, global education, and the defiance of outdated social norms. Today, she may not carry an official title within the Saudi aristocracy, but she now holds something infinitely more precious: her own agency. Every public appearance she makes, every philanthropic speech she delivers, tells the story of a woman who chose her own path over a pre-written legacy, refusing to be confined by the role scripted for her, instead authoring her own incredible, still unfolding narrative. If traditional fairy tales always end with a final line, Amira's life would be the ultimate proof that the real magic truly begins the moment you decide to tear up someone else's script and write your own. Andrea Hissam. It's certainly not every day that you encounter a woman who not only marries a billionaire, but manages to make their wedding feel even more glamorous than a full-blown royal affair. Yet Andrea Hissam managed to do just that. When she officially tied the knot with casino tycoon Steve Wynn, back in 2011, she didn't just walk down the aisle. She practically floated onto the front page of every newspaper. The lavish event was quickly dubbed America's Royal Wedding, a fitting title given it took place just a single day after Prince William and Kate Middleton's global ceremony. The location was, of course, the incredibly luxurious Wynn Las Vegas resort. Her gown was an absolutely stunning Oscar de la Renta creation that instantly drew favourable comparisons to the Duchess Kate's own iconic dress. And the guest list, it was packed with over 1,000 of the most influential and powerful people from around the globe. But Andrea was far more than just a beautiful face in an expensive designer dress. Born in the United Kingdom and raised in the circles of high society, she possessed her own considerable charisma and deep sophistication. She had the kind of captivating presence that turns heads long before anyone realises she's on the arm of one of the wealthiest men in America. At 21 years younger than Wynn, there were plenty of hushed whispers about the considerable age gap, while others simply watched in admiration at how seamlessly she navigated his glittering and complex empire. Still, Andrea has consistently demonstrated that she is more than just a trophy wife. Through her many public appearances and her subtle behind-the-scenes influence, she has consistently projected a poised and graceful presence next to one of the most heavily scrutinised figures in the business world. a reality that was magnified immensely after Wynn's name was caught up in the Me Too movement headlines. And through it all, she stayed. In a high-stakes world where love, power and money seldom mix without a heavy price, Andrea Hissam remains right there, calm, perfectly polished, seemingly untouched by scandal and quite possibly holding more power than anyone truly understands. Because after all, when you're married to the undisputed king of Las Vegas, the real queen often knows that the smartest move is to keep her cards held very close to her chest. Elisabetta Gregoraci. When a breathtakingly gorgeous Italian model marries a billionaire Formula One mogul who is 3 decades her senior, you can be sure the tabloids are ready to pounce. But Elisabetta Gregoraci never even flinched. She stepped confidently into that intense spotlight and made it her own. Born in Calabria, Italy, Elisabetta's career began on the beauty pageant circuit and on the covers of high-fashion magazines. Her natural charisma lit up the runways and she soon became a very familiar and popular face on Italian television. But the moment that made her a true headline came in 2008 when she married the one and only Flavio Briatore, the famously flamboyant, often controversial and incredibly wealthy mastermind behind the Renault Formula One team's era of dominance. With a 30-year age difference and Flavio's notoriously unapologetic personality, the critics were quick to whisper the inevitable accusation gold digger. In response, Elisabetta just smiled and continued living her life. From the sun-soaked beaches of Sardinia to the luxurious yachts of Monaco, she masterfully transformed the intense marital scrutiny into a form of quiet, elegant defiance. They had a son together, Nathan Falco. And for a number of years, it seemed as though their unconventional fairy tale was holding strong. But love that moves in the fast lane has a tendency to burn out. In 2017, the couple announced they were divorcing, but they did so with no public drama, no messy court battles, and absolutely no public displays of bitterness. It was simply an elegant and respectful separation, an exceptionally rare occurrence in the elite circles where massive power and even bigger egos constantly collide. When the marriage ended, Elisabetta emerged not just with her dignity intact, but also with custody agreements in place and a financial settlement reportedly so substantial it ensured her future would be exceptionally comfortable. Following the divorce, she made a triumphant return to television, reappeared on red carpets, with renewed confidence and powerfully demonstrated to the world that her identity was never defined by her husband. While the press may have once framed her story solely through the man she married today, the cameras are focused on her because of the formidable woman she has become on her own terms. Elisabetta Gregoraci did more than just endure the onslaught of sensational headlines. She rose above them, making them ancient history. And in doing so, she redefined the narrative for what it means to partner with a giant and then to possess the strength to confidently forge your own path. And then there is Jade Lagardère. In a privileged world where wealth is discreet and elegance is paramount, Jade Lagardère declared her identity loudly through her tattoos, her Instagram feed, and a fiercely unapologetic spirit. She is the absolute antithesis of the typical billionaire's wife. And it is that very defiance that has made it impossible for the world to turn away. At the young age of just 20, Jade, a model from Belgium with a runway-ready physique and a rebellious soul, captured the attention of Arnaud Lagardère, one of the most influential businessmen in all of France. He was 50 years old. The media predictably went into a frenzy. The age gap was a staggering 30 years, and the social chasm between them felt astronomical. But to them, none of the outside noise mattered. When they officially announced their relationship through a sleek and intimate video, the elite circles of France were utterly scandalised. In a nation that reveres discretion, Jade's openness felt like a form of blasphemy. Critics claimed she was too brash, too unpolished, and entirely too real. Yet beneath the bold ink and the confident facade was a woman who was truly and deeply in love alongside a man who was completely unafraid to show it. They eventually married and had children, and while the gossip columns continued to buzz, Jade didn't just survive, she thrived. She redirected her focus toward writing, creating and publishing a highly successful comic book series that proved she was far more than just a beautiful face in expensive heels. She revealed herself to be a gifted storyteller with a keen wit and an even sharper intellect. Of course, their public journey hasn't been exclusively glamorous. Their partnership has navigated its fair share of tempests, fueled by whispers of tension and persistent rumours of a separation. And yet, rising like a phoenix clad in designer leather, Jade continuously overcomes it all. She represents a modern woman carving her own space in a very traditional world, a tattooed insurgent within the hallowed halls of old French aristocracy. And it's possible that's what legacy sometimes needs, not quiet preservation, but a powerful disruption of the status quo. Because in a vast sea of delicate silk and expected silence, Jade Lagardère is the unapologetic thunder that refuses to be quieted. Now let's talk about Salma Hayek. The world knows Salma Hayek as the magnetic actress with an undeniable fire in her spirit and a backbone of steel. But what many people didn't realise at first was her marriage to one of the most powerful billionaires in the entire fashion industry. And perhaps that was entirely the point. In 2007, Salma took the world by surprise by marrying François-Henri Pinault, the chief executive officer of carrying the fashion juggernaut that controls Gucci, Balenciaga, Saint Laurent, and a host of other luxury brands. This man wasn't just another billionaire, he was the visionary force behind some of the most recognisable brands on the entire planet. But Salma never needed his name to define her. She had already meticulously built her own empire. Their love story was conducted with as much privacy as it had power. They had been dating for merely 11 months when he proposed to her. And during that period, Salma was already expecting their daughter Valentina. Many observers labelled it a whirlwind romance. Some even deemed it a risky move. But for Salma, it was simply real. What makes her so exceptional is that she never allowed herself to be diminished by the immense shadow of his corporate dynasty. She did not simply become Mrs. Pinault. She has always remained Salma, daring, outspoken, full of opinions, and intensely protective of her own hard-won identity. Even today, whether she is on a red carpet or speaking on a panel for activists, she walks directly beside him, never behind him. Their marriage has certainly faced its share of external pressures. Insistent rumours have swirled, demanding schedules have clashed. The sheer weight of their two different worlds was immense. The glamour of Hollywood and the exclusivity of haute couture inevitably collided, but now, more than 15 years later, their partnership remains as strong as ever. And Salma is flourishing, continuing to act, produce, and be a mother, all while actively creating space for women of colour in industries where they were historically excluded. She famously once stated, "I don't want to be loved because I'm successful. I want to be loved in spite of it." And with François-Henri, it certainly seems that she found exactly that. Finally, Melanie Craft. Most romance novelists spend their careers creating fictional stories about powerful men and complicated love. Melanie Craft actually lived that very life. When she married the founder of Oracle, Larry Ellison, back in 2003, the world was all too ready to categorise her as just another woman drawn into the powerful orbit of a tech mogul. But Melanie's own story refuses to conform to any convenient template, not even one she might have written herself. Before she ever became Mrs. Ellison, Melanie had already lived several distinct lives as a bartender, a pastry chef, a safari driver, and then finally a romance novelist. She possessed a deep understanding of what it takes to construct a compelling story from nothing, how to imagine it, risk everything for it, and begin all over again. That adventurous spirit is precisely what made her so fascinating to Larry, the famously guarded and brilliant billionaire who was 25 years her senior. Their wedding, which took place at his sprawling Woodside estate, was relatively modest by billionaire standards. Yet it became a major headline for one spectacular reason: Steve Jobs was serving as Larry's best man. You heard that right, the Steve Jobs. That detail alone made the moment feel like a historic collision between Silicon Valley legend and modern mythology. But like so many stories that are born from great passion, theirs did not have a fairy tale conclusion. After 7 years together, they divorced quietly in the year 2010. There was no messy scandal, no public drama, just a peaceful and private end to their chapter together. In a departure that was both elegant and tinged with sadness, Melanie didn't just walk away with a new chapter. She left with so much more than a famous last name. Beyond gaining a fresh perspective and a renewed sense of personal power, reports suggest she secured some extravagant assets, including a private yacht and valuable properties. But perhaps the most valuable thing she retained was her own identity. Crucially, she never stopped pursuing her passion for writing. In a culture that fixates on the powerful men who control vast fortunes, Melanie's story is a potent reminder that the women standing by their side are often writing their own narratives, and frequently they craft far more compelling conclusions. Now let's talk about Fabiana Flosi. Before she became a household name in the high-octane world of Formula One, Fabiana was already recognised as a brilliant executive known for her sharp intellect, stunning appearance, and an understated, confident demeanour. However, her life was thrust into the international spotlight the instant she exchanged vows with the billionaire CEO of Formula One, Bernie Ecclestone, a man a staggering 45 years older than her. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't about her professional accomplishments, but about the shocking age difference. At 81 years old, he was marrying a 35-year-old. The gossip was relentless and cruel, with the label gold digger echoing everywhere. The public narrative was set. She was just another trophy wife in a classic billionaire romance, one seemingly founded on a complete power imbalance. Yet Fabiana steadfastly refused to engage with the media's circus. Hailing from Brazil, she had built her career from the ground up, diligently climbing the corporate ladder to achieve the prestigious position of Vice President of Marketing for the Brazilian Grand Prix. She earned her success not through connections or handouts, but through sheer determination and an unwavering focus. It was in this professional arena that she crossed paths with Bernie, the famously sharp-witted mogul who had built the Formula One empire and was accustomed to being in absolute control. And yet when it came to Fabiana, even the unflappable Bernie appeared to be completely disarmed, utterly captivated by her. The couple tied the knot in 2012, but contrary to public expectation, Fabiana didn't simply fade into the background of his immense shadow. Instead, she contributed her own distinct brilliance to their union. Despite the sensational headlines and a very noticeable height difference, yes, she is significantly taller than him, their partnership has proven to be remarkably stable and enduring. Then, in 2020, she delivered their first child together, making Bernie a father once more at the advanced age of 89. This event predictably sparked a fresh wave of public questions and harsh judgment. Through it all, Fabiana responded with her signature quiet dignity and a powerful, unwavering loyalty. Anyone who simply wrote her off as being interested only in his fortune was missing a much deeper, more nuanced reality. It serves as a powerful reminder that genuine connection often defies conventions like age or public perception. Ultimately, it's about two individuals finding a sense of belonging with one another, even if it takes the rest of the world a while to understand. And while Fabiana may have married a man many decades her senior, she has consistently demonstrated a wisdom far beyond her years. Next up, Hope Dworachek-Smith. She first captured public attention wearing not much more than pure confidence, but she would eventually step into a new life wearing a multi-million-dollar wedding ring. But make no mistake about it, Hope Dworachek-Smith is far from being just someone's decorative accessory. She is a formidable powerhouse in her own right. Back in 2010, Hope became a national sensation when she was named Playboy's Playmate of the Year. She possessed that rare combination of stunning beauty, effortless poise, and undeniable presence. So when the immensely successful tech billionaire Robert F. Smith noticed her, he was captivated by more than just her physical appearance. He was equally drawn to her ambition and vision. Their wedding ceremony was an absolutely surreal affair. Staged on the breathtaking Amalfi Coast in Italy, the event included private helicopters for guests, an exclusive takeover of a luxurious villa, and a private concert by none other than John Legend. That's right, the legendary John Legend himself serenaded Hope as she walked down the aisle and later performed again while the happy couple shared their first dance beneath a canopy of stars. The list of attendees was a who's who of the financial world, reading like a special edition of Forbes magazine. The entire evening felt like it was lifted directly from the pages of a fairy tale. However, it's what she did after exchanging vows that truly defines Hope's story and makes her so memorable. She refused to simply disappear into a life of passive luxury. Instead, she set out to build her very own empire. As the innovative founder of Mutha, a high-end skincare line designed for mothers, Hope masterfully merged the experiences of motherhood with savvy entrepreneurship to create her unique twofold legacy. She frequently discusses the importance of personal identity, emphasizing the need to be seen as more than just a label, more than a simple stereotype, and certainly more than a fleeting tabloid headline. And while her husband stands as one of the most affluent individuals in the United States, Hope has skillfully forged her own successful path right alongside his never settling for a place in his shadow. By achieving this, she has transformed into a contemporary icon of empowered womanhood, at once glamorous, incredibly successful, and completely unapologetically authentic. Her journey may have begun on the glossy pages of a magazine centerfold, but today she commands attention in corporate boardrooms. And if there is a single lesson to be learned from Hope's incredible story, it is this: never ever underestimate a woman who understands how to command any room she enters, regardless of whether it's illuminated by the glare of paparazzi flashes or the soft glow of candlelight. And finally, we have Wendy Deng. Her story begins with humble origins in China, from which she ascended through the ranks of prestigious American universities, ultimately marrying one of the most influential figures in the entire global media landscape. Yet Wendy Deng has never been the type to be satisfied with simply being known as someone's companion or plus one. She expertly navigates the complex game of power, always according to her own rules. Born to parents who were engineers, Wendy's early life was a world away from the high-stakes corporate boardrooms of News Corp. But exceptional intelligence has a tendency to transcend boundaries. She made her way to California, secured a prestigious MBA from Yale University, and before long was rapidly ascending the corporate ladder within Rupert Murdoch's vast media empire. And then came the dramatic plot twist that no one saw coming. She married the man in charge. Their 1999 wedding certainly caused a stir. He was 68 years old and she was only 30. But Wendy remained completely unfazed by the scrutiny. She was far more than just a young and attractive face. She was incredibly ambitious, highly educated, and possessed a fiercely strategic mind. Throughout their 14-year marriage, she established herself as a regular and influential presence at the most exclusive social and political gatherings. She skillfully cultivated her own network of powerful connections, building relationships with key figures from the tech hubs of Silicon Valley to the political heart of Washington, D.C., and even gaining access to the Trump family's inner circle. However, being so close to the epicenter of power also inevitably attracted a great deal of controversy and suspicion. Persistent rumours began to circulate, with whispers of secret influence peddling potential espionage and personal relationships that extended well beyond professional settings. In 2018, these whispers intensified within United States intelligence circles, with suggestions that Wendy could potentially be collaborating with the Chinese government. It's crucial to note, however, that no concrete evidence was ever presented. Consequently, no official charges were ever filed, but the cloud of intrigue has continued to follow her. When her marriage to Murdoch ended in divorce in 2013, it was seen as far more than just the end of a personal relationship. That moment marked the close of one chapter and the explosive start of her own solo legacy. In the years since, Wendy has completely remade her image, emerging as a savvy art collector, a formidable film producer, and a quiet force pulling strings from the shadows. Completely defiant, utterly unfazed, and seemingly invincible. So, is she a deeply misunderstood figure? Or is she the master of a high-stakes game so complex that the rest of us can't even begin to comprehend the rules? Regardless of where the truth lies, one fact is undeniable: Wendy Deng never has to chase after power. Power, it seems, is irresistibly drawn to her. Sylvia and Duca, while most beauty queens simply dream of wearing a crown, Sylvia Nduka had her sights set on an entire kingdom. Crowned most beautiful girl in Nigeria back in 2011, it appeared to the world that Sylvia possessed it all. She had the grace, the unwavering drive, and that indefinable spark that simply makes a person unforgettable. But her narrative took a sharp dramatic turn when whispers began to circulate about a secret involvement with the wealthiest man in all of Africa, Aliko Dangote. Her story then shifted from pageant glamour to a chronicle of power, launching her into the stratosphere of full-blown tabloid legend. Think about the dynamic. She was a young 25 while he was 57, commanding a fortune worth well over $15 billion. Dangote was far more than just Nigeria's most prominent business magnate. He was a figure of immense influence, practically beyond reproach. So you can imagine the explosion when rumours alleged that Sylvia herself had leaked details of their affair to the press, hoping to pressure him into marriage. It was like setting off a bomb in the very heart of Lagos high society. The story went absolutely nuclear. The woman who had once been praised for her charity work and captivating charm was overnight recast in the public eye as a calculating and audacious seductress. To some, she was a fearless woman taking control. To others, she was a master manipulator. Yet amidst the cacophony of opinions, she maintained an unshakable poise, refusing to speak a word. No confirmation, no denial. And it was in that very silence that her legend was cemented and began to grow. What amplified the shock factor even more? The bombshell allegation was that Dangote was already a married man. This supposed affair and the dramatic fallout quickly became one of the most feverishly discussed scandals to ever rock Nigeria's elite circles. Yet, even after the romance was said to have completely fizzled out, Sylvia Nduka refused to fade into obscurity. Instead, she executed a brilliant pivot, launching a successful hair extension business, transforming into a vocal advocate for female entrepreneurs and meticulously building her own brand, Sylvia's Hair. Her new message was loud and clear. A beautiful face might get you in the door, but it's pure ambition that builds empires. Whether the scandalous romance was fact or fiction, a single truth emerged that no one could dispute. Sylvia Nduka's ascent to prominence wasn't some stroke of luck. It was meticulously carved from sheer audacity, clever strategy, and an ironclad refusal to ever be just a footnote in someone else's story. Because in a world where powerful men typically control the narrative, Sylvia was determined to ensure she would never be relegated to a mere chapter. She became the headline. Now Princess Charlene of Monaco. What truly happens when an elite world-class athlete exchanges the competitive waters of a swimming pool for the gilded halls of a palace? In the case of Charlene Wittstock, that journey meant a complete transformation into Her Serene Highness, Princess Charlene of Monaco. Wife to Prince Albert II, the son of the legendary American actress Grace Kelly. But her real-life fairy tale has proven to be far more complex than the picture-perfect images splayed across magazine covers. Charlene began her public life as an Olympic swimmer from South Africa, a woman celebrated for her intense discipline and her stunning statuesque beauty. When her path first crossed with Prince Albert's at a swimming competition back in the year 2000, absolutely no one could have predicted she was destined to one day wear a crown. But 11 years after that initial meeting, she did precisely that, gliding down the aisle in a magnificent custom Armani gown as the entire world watched. It was a scene ripped directly from the pages of a royal fantasy. And yet even on that supposedly perfect day, persistent and unsettling whispers haunted her wedding. Dark rumours circulated that Charlene had made desperate attempts to flee Monaco just days before the ceremony, suggesting the immense pressure of palace life was becoming unbearable before it had even officially begun. Whether these stories were true or not, the resulting headlines crafted a narrative not of a blissful, radiant bride, but of a deeply reluctant, almost captive princess. Despite the swirling controversy, Charlene pressed forward with her duties. In 2014, she gave birth to her twins Jacques and Gabriella, thereby securing the future of Monaco's royal lineage. She also evolved into a global style icon, frequently drawing comparisons to her iconic mother-in-law Grace, thanks to her athletic frame and a chic contemporary sense of elegance. At 46, she appears almost untouched by time. Her famous poise has not faded and her unique aura remains completely intact. But her life story is about much more than opulence. Hidden behind the priceless jewels and designer couture, Charlene has endured significant health battles, painful separations from her family in South Africa, and the unyielding scrutiny of the tabloid press. And yet, through all of these trials, she has consistently stood tall, forging a new definition of what it means to be a princess in the 21st century. She is less of a fairy tale damsel and much more of a tenacious fighter. Princess Charlene may indeed reside in a palace, but it's her incredible resilience in the face of adversity that makes her truly royal. And then there is Anna Serge. While some women focus on marrying billionaires, Anna Serge seems to choose being seen with one of the most eccentric characters of them all. Here in Los Angeles, a city where immense wealth and blinding fame often merge into a single neon haze, billionaire James Goldstein stands out as a living legend. He's instantly recognisable for his flamboyant fashion, his permanent courtside seats at NBA games, and his iconic mid-century mansion that serves as a mecca for the fashion world. It is a rare occasion indeed to spot him in public without an exceptionally glamorous woman accompanying him. For some time now, that woman has been Anna Serge, a striking tall blonde model who embodies the classic allure of old Hollywood, all while shrouded in a contemporary mystery. Goldstein, now well into his 80s, clearly thrives on shock value. He is completely candid about his lifestyle. You'll always find him at the game. He's a fixture at every exclusive party, and he's never without a beauty within arm's reach. For Anna, stepping into this intense spotlight means being constantly photographed at the world's hottest fashion weeks and casually rubbing elbows with top-tier designers, all while witnessing basketball history being made from the very front row. She has effectively become the new face of his constantly curated spectacle of a life. But make no mistake, Anna is far more than just beautiful scenery. Her captivating beauty and mysterious presence have built a fan base all their own, fueling endless speculation and quiet gossip. But who is the real woman hidden behind the constant glare of the paparazzi's cameras? Is she just another beautiful face in Goldstein's ever-changing lineup of muses? Or is she cleverly redefining the role of a billionaire's girlfriend for a new generation? Of course, the cynics are quick to label her as just a temporary footnote in the expansive saga of Goldstein's life. However, keen observers notice something different, a sharp, intelligent woman who knows precisely how to use the media's attention to her advantage, never letting its overwhelming power consume her. Whether Anna Sergeeva continues her reign as the undisputed queen of Goldstein's courtside appearances, or ventures out to build her very own empire, one fact remains crystal clear. In a society obsessed with image and perception, she possesses the rare skill of transforming public curiosity into tangible influence and power. Malia Underlain. Hollywood romances are famous for their unexpected turns, but the story of Malia Anderline and media titan Sumner Redstone is one for the history books, packed with a truly jaw-dropping twist. She was in her early 20s, working as a flight attendant aboard one of the exclusive private jets owned by the media conglomerate Viacom. He, on the other hand, was the formidable 85-year-old chairman of a vast media empire that included giants like CBS and Paramount Pictures. The moment their orbits crossed, the tabloid press went into a frenzy, struggling to keep pace. The age gap wasn't just notable. Malia was a staggering 6 decades his junior. To the outside world and its army of skeptics, the situation appeared to be a tired old cliché: the ultra-wealthy older man and the stunningly beautiful younger woman. Yet Malia swiftly demonstrated that she was far more than a temporary passenger on his journey. She became his ever-present companion and confidant. She was a fixture at his side during the most exclusive events on Hollywood's high society calendar, and their very public relationship fueled a storm of endless speculation. Was this genuine love a relationship of convenience or a brilliant, strategic move? Whatever the truth, one thing became undeniable: the immense influence she now wielded. It was later uncovered through tax records that Malia had received $75,000 for her role in helping to secure a major donation for the Global Poverty Project, proving her closeness to Redstone gave her significant clout in the world of philanthropy as well. But in stark contrast to so many others who desperately courted the limelight, Malia maintained an aura of profound mystery. She expertly sidestepped any hint of scandal, deliberately kept a low public profile, and simply allowed the rampant whispers to circulate around her. Many dismissed her as a calculated gold digger, while others quietly admired her ability to immerse herself in a world that few can navigate without completely losing their identity. Ultimately, their romance concluded, but the powerful impression she made has endured. Malia's narrative is about so much more than simply being the girlfriend of an elderly billionaire. It's a story about having the sheer audacity to enter a gilded cage that most can only peer into from a distance, and then having the strength to walk away entirely on her own terms, completely intact. Eloise Brody. In a high-stakes world where billionaire relationships tend to ignite like supernovas and then burn out just as quickly, Eloise Brody stands as living proof that it's possible for glamour, fame and true longevity to coexist within the same remarkable narrative. Having been born and raised in the bustling city of Houston, Texas, it was clear that Eloise was never meant for a life of quiet suburban anonymity. Her stunning beauty was impossible to ignore, and her charisma was absolutely magnetic, so it wasn't long before the rest of the world took notice. She soon found herself gracing the pages of Playboy magazine, eventually securing the highly coveted title of Playmate of the Year in 1988. For many women, achieving that level of fame would represent the absolute pinnacle of their career. For Eloise, however, it was merely the opening chapter. Just 2 years after that destiny intervened, bringing her face to face with John Paul DeJoria, the legendary self-made billionaire who founded both Paul Mitchell Hair Care and the iconic Patron Tequila. DeJoria, a man who had famously experienced homelessness before masterminding two globally recognised brands, was every bit as unconventional as Eloise was utterly captivating. They formed an entirely unexpected but perfectly complementary duo, the business mogul defined by his grit and the stunning model known for her grace. They were married in 1993 and their union defied all the typical stereotypes. Unlike so many other billionaire marriages, theirs was never splashed across tabloids for scandal or messy divorce proceedings. Instead, their relationship became defined by something much rarer: endurance. They navigated decades of building business empires, engaging in major philanthropic ventures, and enduring the relentless curiosity of the media together. Through it all, Eloise has been a steadfast presence, proving to be a true partner rather than a simple ornament and a trusted confidant, instead of just another accessory. Even today, at the age of 68, Eloise exudes the very same powerful confidence that once illuminated the covers of glossy magazines, but now it's enriched with a deep layer of wisdom. She passionately champions philanthropic work alongside her husband and is a vocal supporter of numerous causes dedicated to empowering women. Moreover, she remains an icon of elegance, navigating the aging process entirely on her own terms. Her legacy is not simply about being married to a billionaire. It is a story about completely redefining what that role can entail, transforming it from something fleeting into something that lasts forever. Eloise Brody's journey may have begun as a Playboy Playmate, but she has evolved into something far more rare and impressive: a genuine life partner who has triumphantly stood the test of time in a world obsessed with the temporary. Christy Hefner, that last name Hefner immediately conjures images of one man, Hugh. People picture the silk robes, the legendary parties, and of course the infamous Playboy mansion. But it was his daughter, Christy Hefner, who completely rewrote that public narrative, using her sharp intellect, brilliant strategy, and a powerful ambition that propelled her to become one of the most formidable women in the entire media industry. Christy refused to live in the colossal shadow cast by her famous last name. Born in Chicago and educated at the prestigious Brandeis University, she launched her career armed with a keen intellectual curiosity and an innate talent for leadership. Then, in 1988, she took the reins as the chief executive officer of Playboy Enterprises, a move that made her one of the very first female executives to ever helm a major international brand that was fundamentally built on the concept of male fantasy. The profound irony of the situation was obvious to everyone, but Christie didn't just accept it, she embraced it, proceeding to transform the company with remarkable poise and an unapologetic sense of authority. Over the course of 20 years, she masterfully steered the Playboy empire far beyond its origins of just glossy magazines and extravagant mansion parties. She catapulted the company into a new era, securing global licensing agreements, pioneering digital content, and achieving widespread mainstream acceptance. While many doubters assumed she would be out of her depth, Christie demonstrated that she was not just capable, but a true visionary. Under her guidance, the iconic rabbit head logo evolved from a symbol of fantasy into a formidable emblem of international business. But her personal narrative extends far beyond corporate earnings reports and strategy meetings. Christie became a fierce and outspoken champion for freedom of expression, a range of women's health issues, and corporate social accountability. She leveraged her powerful platform to advocate for causes she believed in, which often stood in direct opposition to the brand she managed. It was this fascinating contradiction that made her such a compelling figure. The very woman steering the ship at Playboy was simultaneously fighting passionately for the advancement of women's rights. Christie resigned her post in 2009, yet her profound impact on the industry is still felt today. She taught the world that building a legacy isn't about dutifully following a path laid out by someone else. It's about grabbing the pen, tearing up the old script, and having the audacity to write an entirely new one. Because while Hugh Hefner erected an empire on imagination, Christie Hefner constructed something infinitely more subversive, a legacy of respect.